Wednesday, everybody. It's Jim, it's Amadeus, and we are here on a Maction Wednesday. We always love our Maction, and we got it today. Some pretty decent football games on the slate for the Mac tonight, huh?
Yeah, definitely another good slate. I'm coming off a nice winner in the MAC last night with Western Michigan. They pulled out to an early lead. It got a little sketchy near the end, but they came through to win that game by 10, so that was a good one. Yeah, we got a few good ones tonight. Obviously, Akron, they haven't been doing well this year, but Miami, Ohio, they're a real contender for the
Mm-hmm.
MAC title. So those two will be taken on. Then we got Bowling Green versus Kent State, the only team in the conference without a conference win, I believe.
I believe you're
And
right.
yeah, and then the last one we got Eastern Michigan versus Toledo.
That's actually those schools are about 45 miles apart. So they're, a lot of the schools in the MAC are very close together, and Eastern Michigan is right. It's not. It's just south of Detroit. It's not far from Ann Arbor, and Toledo is at the very, very tippy top on the western part of Ohio. So on the border, about 60 miles or so from Detroit. So there you go. Eastern Michigan, Toledo, Bowling Green, Kent State, Akron, and Miami. So that's a full slate if you are interested in such things. Couple of more than a couple, but a few college basketball games tonight. Canisius and Syracuse. That's a game that almost yearly they play this game, and Canisius is a Catholic school in upstate New York, and Syracuse, of course, is a private school and has a rich basketball tradition. Texas A&M, don't get Texas A&M um, Commerce against Texas Tech. So it's not the Texas A&M that we know from the SEC. It's Texas A&M Commerce takes on Texas Tech at 8 o'clock. Also at 8 o'clock, we got Lincoln, Missouri, taking on St. Louis, Missouri, in a battle of Missouri teams. And then late night tonight, you've got Stanford and Hawaii playing basketball, and Stanford is 0-0 in the Big West, and Stanford is ranked 15th in the country, and they are 0-0 in the Pac-12. So that's the game tonight on the college side. The game's being played at Maples Pavilion on the campus of Stanford, and affectionately known as the Barn. So, and there's one here that you know could have been a tournament game last year. Florida Atlantic, who's the number 10 team in the country, taking on Loyola of Illinois, which we all remember from Sister Jean and all the fun stuff at Loyola in Chicago. So Loyola in Chicago was taking on Florida Atlantic in a game tonight. 7 o'clock start, and they are. Let me see where we can find that game on ESPN. So if you are so inclined. So there you go. That's what we got going on today. And anything of interest in soccer?
Yeah, we got a few things going on in soccer today. Right now, we have some Champions League matches currently going on.
Mm-hmm.
Napoli and Union Berlin are tied 1-1, as well as Real Sociedad beating Benfica 3-1 in a match where it could really be 5-0 for Real Sociedad right now. Um, there's also some other Champions League games in the 3 o'clock window today, and then obviously tomorrow we have big Europa League and Conference League
Mm-hmm.
slate.
What about this Red Bull Salzburg Inter Milan game?
Yeah, so that's one of the Champions League games at 3. That's a very interesting game just because Inter Milan is tied with Real Sociedad at the
Mm-hmm.
top of the group. But if Sociedad closes out this match that they're currently leading Benfica in, then
Mm-hmm.
Inter Milan is going to need a win in this match just to keep pace with Real Sociedad, who'll be leading the group at that point. But That's going to be a very good match just because Red Bull Salzburg is no pushover, especially
Hmm.
when they play at home. And Inter Milan has definitely shown flashes of given some reasons as to why they could be one of the best teams in Italy this year. So obviously they made it to the finals of Champions League last season as well. So they have that motivation to play with. So that's going to be a very good game a very good game to watch this afternoon. There's a few other ones too. Arsenal and Sevilla, I think, will be a good match to watch. I know Arsenal is a huge favorite, but never count out these Spanish clubs. You know, Sevilla, as bad as they were in La Liga last year, there's a reason why they won Europa League and have this Champions League spot.
I was looking at the odds. It's home is plus 380, and a draw is plus 290, and away is minus 145.
Yeah, for the Inter Milan match,
Hmm.
it's very good value getting Inter Milan at this kind of price for sure,
Hmm.
considering the kind of team they are. But they could play more defensively, and it all depends. You know, even seeing Real Sociedad beating Benfica might affect the way they come out in this match because they
Hmm.
might see that and feel like they have to win this now. They do play Real Sociedad one more. That's actually the one meeting that both teams have a draw in. They both
Hmm.
won their other two matches, so definitely, yeah, that'll probably be the match to watch on the Champions League slate today.
We also have some NBA games. Washington at Charlotte. That's a 7 o'clock tip. The Celtics and the Sixers, 7 o'clock tip in Philly. Utah, the Jazz at Indianapolis. That game also 7 o'clock tip. We see a trend here. We go to the Spurs at the Knicks. That's a 7:30 tip at the Garden. The Clippers are at the Brooklyn Nets. That's a 7:30 start. We then go out a little bit out west, more of the Midwest. It's New Orleans at Minnesota. Timberwolves. That's an 8 o'clock tip. Lakers and Rockets in Houston. That's an 8 o'clock tip. Detroit and Milwaukee's an 8 o'clock tip. The Heat are at Memphis. That's an 8 o'clock tip. The Suns are at the Bulls. That's 8 o'clock. Raptors at Dallas, 8:30. And let's move up. Golden State. Um, 10 o'clock game. The Golden State Warriors, Denver Nuggets. That game is at 10 o'clock. And then we have that. It should be the end of the games for the evening. I think the Golden State game is part of a it's part of a ESPN doubleheader. So if you have to see you haven't seen the Warriors and Nuggets play this year, well, guess what? You get to see it on ESPN tonight. So quite a bit of college and pro basketball and some soccer, and we even have an MLS game tonight, an MLS playoff game, and that is being played in Philadelphia. It's New England Revolution, Philadelphia. Philadelphia leads that group by 1-0 in that series that they've got right there, and they are heavily favored at home.
Yeah, this is it's an interesting match for sure, just because obviously Philadelphia leads the series, but we've seen a few teams punch their ticket to the next
Hmm.
round already. Obviously, Cincinnati on the eastern side did it over the weekend, and Orlando punched their ticket um, last night. I believe the Columbus Atlanta series, that one's tied 1-1,
Yeah.
and so this is the so tonight with the New England Philadelphia, that's game two for that one.
Hmm.
And the number one seed in the Western Conference has already been eliminated as Kansas City swept them, Sporting Kansas there,
Hmm.
2-0 in that series, one away win, one home win. So good on them. The Seattle Dallas series, that one's tied up at 1 with Seattle going home with a chance to win it, and same with the Houston Salt Lake series. That's another one that's tied up at 1. While LAFC, just like Kansas City, has punched their ticket through the next round on the western side.
It's funny, we always talk about Salt Lake being the team that you don't want to take when they're at home. They've become the Texas Rangers of MLS soccer. It's like they can win on the road, but they can't win in front of the home crowd. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the playoffs. But very interesting group of teams moving on. The wrong for the league, the wrong Florida team advanced, which was Orlando. Miami would have been the one they would have wanted, but you can't always get what you want.
Well, maybe not so much, Jim. I almost think the MLS wants Orlando to win the MLS Cup this year because they want them to be good and establish themselves as a power this year. So when Inter Miami is good next year and has a real shot at the MLS Cup, now you have, a very close rival who's the defending champion, and you can start building that Orlando-Miami rivalry.
Right. It's funny, they started calling it a derby, which I was curious about because they had never done it before. So I guess they have to make
Florida
it up.
Derby? What's the name for the derby?
It's called they call it the Florida Derby.
The Florida Derby,
which ironically is the name of both a horse race and a dog race in Florida. So, clearly they didn't do a very good job of copywriting it. But yeah, that's I don't know. Miami and Orlando it'd be very interesting. It's not a bad drive, so they could. I know that when they played in the regular season, they definitely had an opportunity for a lot of the Miami fans to go up and watch the game in Orlando.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, Orlando, they were actually one of the few teams that didn't need 3 games to advance. They went they went in 2. They won once at home and once away from home, and they actually had the best away record in the MLS this season.
Wow.
So they have that going for them for sure, especially when really the only team that can have home advantage over them in the entire playoffs is Cincinnati. There's not a single team, because they're the number 2 seed in the East, Orlando, and there's not a single team in the West that finished with more points than them.
Wow. So that gives them a definite advantage as they move forward. And we're not seeing as much in the way of people watching as we did during the regular season. And also, we're not seeing as many people going to the games as we would hope to see. There's an interesting, Charles Robinson wrote on Yahoo Sports today, an interesting column, which is the Patriot way was really the Brady way. And he talks about how that Belichick didn't win prior to Brady coming. Then he won when Brady was there, and then he hasn't won after him. Fair or not fair, it's kind of the way things are going ahead. There is a fantasy football trade tip, and that is move C.J. Stroud ahead of the deadline. Basically, they're saying trade him ahead of the deadline because they think that the second half of the season is not going to be good for C.J. Stroud. So, interesting from that standpoint. We have bowl projections coming up here. And we have a thing from Foxy going. Here's a question. Newcastle heading out of the Champions League. We gave it a go, but not good enough, especially with all the injuries we have. So Newcastle didn't quite get through.
Yeah, they were definitely lacking on depth now with the condensed schedule and all the injuries, as you said, were piling up. But you can't be losing to Dortmund twice. That's just a real killer.
Here's the conference bowl eligible teams. We'll start with the AAC. Tulane, SMU, Memphis, and University of Texas San Antonio needs 2 wins. Florida Atlantic, South Florida, and Rice need 2 more wins. And the ACC bowl eligible, Florida State, the team you saw the other day, Louisville, North Carolina, Duke, Boston College, NC State, and Miami needs 1 win. Georgia Tech needs a win. Clemson needs a win to make it. Big 12 bowl eligible teams are Texas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, West Virginia. BYU and Iowa State could use one more win to get in. And that takes us to the Big Ten. Their bowl-eligible teams are Ohio State, Michigan State, Penn State. I'm sorry, I said Michigan State. I meant Michigan. So it's Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Iowa, Rutgers. How about that one? And needs one win. Maryland needs a win. Minnesota needs a win. Wisconsin needs a win. And Nebraska needs a win to make it. Our friends at Conference USA, Liberty, Jacksonville State, New Mexico they're in. Western Kentucky needs a win, and 2 wins would get Florida International in. We talked about the MAC. The MAC has Toledo, Miami of Ohio, and Ohio right there on the bowl eligibility. Mountain West, Air Force, Fresno State, UNLV, Wyoming. Air Force, if they keep going and go undefeated, would be the likely group of 5 team that gets it to the New Year's 6 bowl games. And Pac-12 has Washington, Oregon State, Utah, USC, Arizona, and UCLA are all bowl eligible. 2 wins would get Colorado and Washington State in there. The SEC, Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, and Kentucky. 1 win would get Texas A&M, Florida, and Auburn in. And there you go. Here's the New Year's 6 bowl games as projected today. The Cotton Bowl, which is played in Jerry's place out in Texas, has Texas and Washington. So Texas gets to stay home and face Washington. That would be an interesting game. Penn State and Auburn in the Peach Bowl. Louisville and Ole Miss in the Orange Bowl. Fiesta Bowl would be Tulane and Oregon. The Rose Bowl would be Michigan and Florida State, and that's a semifinal game. Georgia, Ohio State would be in the other national semifinal game, which is the Sugar Bowl game. That's really interesting. I don't see Oregon there for some reason.
Yeah, I think all these predictions people put out are just complete ridiculousness. I don't know how. Tell me this scenario. I don't know how you can continue to put Michigan and Ohio State both in the college football playoff when there's a chance you're going to have an undefeated Washington with a Pac-12 title, and you're going to have a 1-loss Ohio State team with no Big Ten title. So how the hell do they get in the college football playoffs over a team like Washington or even a team like Oregon? Because Oregon could end up with 1 loss and a Pac-12 championship if it ends up being them versus Washington in the final.
Right.
Pac-12, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's interesting because I think it was 1994 or 95. Florida State beat Florida in the rivalry game at the end of the season. And it turned out, as things would have it, that Florida played Florida State in the national championship game that year. So it was really kind of a weird situation where, the 2 teams played each other during the regular season and then played each other in the national championship game. Now, I don't see how a 1-loss Washington and a 1-loss Oregon team, how can you keep, at least one of them should get in the playoffs, and one of them should get a New Year's 6 game.
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
Definitely, there can't be 2 Big Ten teams. Maybe in previous years, we've been getting away with it because it's been a lot of Big Ten SEC dominated. But there's good teams all around in every conference this year. There's a good ACC team. There's a good Pac-12 team. There's a good Big Ten team. There's a good SEC team. So there cannot be 2 Big Ten teams in the college football playoffs this year, or it's an even bigger joke than I already thought it was.
Well, the thing is, they're going to play each other. So how do you put them both in there if they play each other?
Yeah, and one might not come away with the championship.
Right. So where does that work? I mean, it doesn't work at all. So good to see our friends from Twitch online here today. We're doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. So yeah, I mean, it's grins and giggles to look at, but as far as bowl projections, we still are a good 3 or 4 games out before you start looking at seriously at it. And then the way the playoffs. I mean, let's say Florida State goes to the playoff game in the ACC and gets beat, which is possible. So how does that change things up? I will tell you that there are a lot of people out there concerned that a one-loss Alabama team would be foisted into that in that foursome along with Georgia. That would be a travesty. That Alabama team is getting better, but they're not one of the top 4 teams in the country.
Yeah, absolutely not. That would be again another ridiculous thing because Georgia has clearly established themselves. Obviously, we'll find out because maybe Alabama makes the championship game and finally beats Georgia, so that would throw a wrench into things. But
Yeah.
Yeah, as of right now, there's a clear undefeated team in all the major conferences. I don't know how you can put 2 teams and one with 1 loss in the college football playoffs this year. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And I don't know. I think that we're in a situation where on the holding pattern, it's very possible that the Big 12 gets shut totally out. I don't see that, Oklahoma is probably their best bet. But, there's going to be a title game there as well.
Yeah, well, not really. Oklahoma has 2 losses now. And
okay.
Even though Texas only has the 1 loss, I
Right.
mean, this is what I love is so in the college football playoff rankings, you have Oklahoma State ranked 2 spots higher than Oklahoma. So Oklahoma State is 15th and Oklahoma is 17th because Oklahoma State just beat Oklahoma last week.
Right.
But Texas is ranked 7th when Oklahoma beat them earlier in the season. So guess what? If Oklahoma sucks, which they do, Texas sucks just as much, if not more. So the rankings are a joke. And like I said, it's the invitational. It's not even the football playoffs this year.
Right. It's silly season already. There you go. So, all right, let's take a look at what have you for this evening here, my friend. Giving people an opportunity to work out some of the fun stuff that you got on your various websites, which are all listed below in our show box.
Yeah, so make sure you check out my premium plays at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. I have a very big card tonight. You can get all those links in the description below. I have one more Champions League to go at 3 o'clock if you want to catch that one. And if not, I got one college basketball play, 1 college football play for the MAC tonight, which I'm now on a 3-0 run in MAC football after cashing Western Michigan last night. And I have 3 NBA plays after their nice Tuesday hiatus, so you can go check that out.
It's funny, you the other day when you were in West Virginia over there in the Wheeling area, you were about 35 miles away from, the University of Ohio. So there you go. In the neighborhood. There you were you were that close to action without even knowing it. So there you go. All right, well, for Amadeus, I'm Jim. Hope that you've had a good day. We will be back tomorrow, and we're going to have some NFL football here tomorrow, along with some college football and some college basketball, of course, the NBA, and all kinds of crazy. So join us tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we thank you for coming by today. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.